Okay, welcome. Actually, this is a test session. So, just testing the StreamYard, how it works, and just uh, okay. Okay, I'm also checking on Facebook. Okay, so as I said, this is a test video. So, where I'll try to explain or I'll try to answer some software testing related concepts. Okay, so in terms of what exactly I want to answer, let's say, so what is software testing, why it is important, so the need for software testing objectives, software testing life cycle, risks associated with software testing, and principles of software testing, fundamental test process, and the psychology of testing. Okay, as I told, this is a test video, so I may or may not answer all of this. Okay. Okay, I'm resizing. I think I'm just placing my. Okay, I'm placing the windows in my screen so that it becomes easier for me. Okay, so if I ask what is software testing, what you will say? Yeah, it's about testing, right? Test, check software. Uh, if the software works, right? If the software works properly, I believe if I say software, then that may not be the correct definition. Or yeah, the definition is okay, but the thing is, we need to be more specific, right? Software is the entire thing, whether it works or not. Yes, we need to check and find out, but we actually check individual features, right? If all the features individually works, and also the feature works in relation to each other, and eventually when everything works, then we can say that software works or the software uh, okay, we did test the software, right? Now, what I am trying to say that okay, then we can say that the software is error free, but is that even possible? No, that's not possible, right? A software cannot be 100% error free. A software cannot be 100% bug free, and you cannot make a software 100% perfect. Okay, so the purpose of testing is not to declare that the software is error free, right? The purpose of software testing is to find issues with the software, just to show that the software has issues, right? The purpose of software testing is to show that the software has problems. That is the purpose, right? So we try to find out issues and issues and issues. So if at one point that we don't find lots of issues, then we can say that okay, it's in good condition, but not in a perfect condition, right? And software testing can never prove the absence of errors, right? So, yes, and also so that you need to find bugs, more and more bugs, not the same bugs or doing the same thing and trying to find different bugs, same bugs. No. You need to test in many different ways, many different levels, right? For many different cases, scenarios, and also probably by many different people as well, right? Or many different stakeholders. Stakeholders means uh, I think the way different people are connected to this software in different roles, right? Sometimes developer, tester, manager, analyst, project manager, end user, client, government, hackers, crackers, so different roles, right? So you need to see if you can find software from the different roles perspective as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave. That was not my intention when I was trying to define what is software testing. Okay, so in simple, what is software testing? It is checking software, checking to find bugs, to find errors, right? That is what it is. Okay, okay. Initially, I told that I will discuss some questions, answers, right? So my goal actually was to give some overview of all of these questions rather than going deep into each of the questions, right? Once I give the overview, then I probably can try to go deep. Okay. So why does software fail? Okay, software fail. Is it because the developers did not write the software well? Yeah, for sure it can be because the software developers are given some tasks or some features to implement, right? If they don't implement those features correctly, uh, software may fail for sure, right? Now, even if the software developers uh, develop it right, develop it okay, but still it can fail if you don't test it well, right? Now, if you say that testing is software developer's role, software developer responsibility, that's a uh, different aspect. But in general, let's say developers wrote the software. Now, if it is not being tested for the main functionality, or probably what other things that can go wrong, the software can still fail, right? Software developers usually they will test what they are supposed to, what the feature or the software is supposed to do. They will be definitely implementing and testing that it does that thing, right? So that probably is the primary focus. But still, there can be many other things that can be related to the software that can make it a failure, right? So yes, one thing is if the software is not tested well, it can fail. Sometimes it can fail that if you did not address the security, hackers can make it fail. Or sometimes the deployment, where you deploy the software, the platform is not good, right? That platform is not appropriate for this software. It probably works some features, but other features it doesn't work, right? Or probably it works for 50 users, but it doesn't work for 1,000 users. Or it works for Internet Explorer, but it doesn't work for Chrome. Usually it happens the other way around, but I'm just saying, right? So, so it can fail for many different reasons, right? Anyway, so what is the need for software testing? Okay, if you don't test software well, your software can fail, right? So you need to test. That can be one good reason to test software, right? Okay, that's the summary of it. And there are some implications as well because it will, if it fails, it will cost the company money, right? Customer satisfaction, customer dissatisfaction, client dissatisfaction. You may lose the business. And if it does the wrong thing, you may get into legal troubles. Okay, above all, for the purpose you made the software for, that is not happening, right? So what is the point of making the software and spending all this time and money? Anyway, what is testing? It means, I think, what is asking is actually, in a software development organization or in a software development team or in the related people who will test the software. The software developers do, when they write software, do they check whether, okay, I implemented it, does it work or not, or whether it has an error or not? For sure, software developer test, right? Software developer definitely they try to test. Now, whether they test it formally or not, or to what extent they test, or what type of testing they do, then it can vary. It can vary, and also what they should test or not, or what is their responsibility or not. There are different opinions, but that's controversial. Or anyway, but yeah, definitely software developer do some testing for sure, right? Or software tester, yes, definitely they will also test because that's their role. On top of that, business analysts, they will do. Project managers, their primary role is maintaining the timeline. So testing really does not fall, but sometimes business analyst, project manager can be the same role in the company, so it can happen. And same role and same person, right? End users, managers, or sometimes from the client someone, or in your organization some other department, people from some other department, or from some other software development team, or some other software testing team. That can test, right? Okay. Now, when to start software testing? Usually, what is the concept? The concept is you develop the software development is done, then you test it, right? That is the general concept. Yeah, there are some sort of truth to it. Now, whether you develop the software as a whole thing and then you test, or you probably just implement some part and then test, right? Eventually, if you test something, it is to be implemented or is to be there, right? Okay, that is there. So whether you test at the end, like in the waterfall software development method, you develop the entire software, then you test it, right? Or in agile, iterative, or all those things, you test along the way. Sometimes if you implement some feature, you test, implement some feature, some test, or probably while it's still you're implementing, to some extent it's implemented, still some testing can be done depending on the current situation, right? Now, there is one other thing, right? Sometimes it happens even before you start developing, you start testing, or you plan for testing, right? That is called test-driven development. You think about the test cases, what are the tests that we'll do, and probably you do the test, you write code, you test, you test, you write code. That's how your testing or development goes, right? Test-driven development. So something like this, right? So it is just reversing the entire thing, right? Okay. So the question is when to start testing, right? Okay, it can start from the beginning of writing the software, or it can happen in between when the software is being developed, feature by feature, or probably with incomplete features that probably what you don't want to do, but in real life that can happen to some extent. It is just getting the testers familiarities, and then if they are not busy with any serious thing, right? Anyway, and waterfall is complete development and then do it, right? Okay, but is that where does testing uh, start, or is that when it should start? In some way, probably yes, if we think about only in terms of software developer and tester in that region. But really, the testing can start very early in the software development life cycle, right? When you are collecting the requirements, you are identifying the features to implement, right? Even you can do some sort of testing there in terms of whether features, criteria, whether you are doing it right or not, when you are collecting it right or not, or probably you're breaking down the features, what you are thinking to be the requirements, or whether they relate to each other, or whether they are consistent or not. So all those verifications, validations, okay, verification, validation, they have some technical meaning I used in general terms, right? So, okay, you can start even there, right? And when does it end? As I told before, you can never prove that a software is 100% perfect. You can never prove that a software is totally bug free, right? You cannot prove. Testing can find bugs. That is the purpose of testing, right? Now, the purpose of software testing to find bugs. So one thing can be, let's say, so when you cannot find any more bugs, then you can stop. Now you cannot find any more bugs. What does that mean, right? If you are the only person doing it again and again, or whatever you can think, but does it mean you need to stop? You can, but ideally should you? Probably yes, provided that you tested in all different cases, scenarios, all different cases. I think they're probably exhaustive. I better not go there, but in different criteria. In different criteria, if you test it all and then you don't find more bugs, yes, you can stop. But on another way, we can say, let's say, initially we planned, right? Initially we planned, we identified how to test, and we create all the test cases. Then if you're done with those test cases, then yeah, probably can stop unless you come up with more test cases and test planning, right? So yeah, okay. Sometimes what happens, you don't have time, right? The release date is there, so you need to release it. So you need to stop, right? You need to stop. Especially sometimes the public facing, uh, public facing uh, releases of software that everybody is anticipating, unless there is very critical issue, in general you will be releasing, you will be testing until that point. If there is no critical and very serious issue, in general you will release, right? Let's see. So KFC, if their Father's Day promotion or Mother's Day promotion, they have some software feature implemented. The Father's Day, Mother's Day, it starts on a particular day, right? So you need to release on that day. If you're supposed to release something in relation to Father's Day or Mother's Day, then you need to release it on that day. So you need to better test before it. And if there is no critical issues, you probably can still uh, stop and release. And then what happens is, I had that those cases in the real life. So we did actually release the software. Then probably first week we had lots of issues from the customers, clients, users. So many different things are happening. So we needed to make it stable, right? Probably it gets stable usually by in a week. So yeah, that thing happened. Okay, so when we stop, deadline or software project got cancelled or abandoned, yeah, it is the same thing. Deadline, adjustive, all different cases or criteria have been addressed. All the test cases are, uh, the plant test cases are done. Yeah, I think that will be other thing. Anyway, so I also mentioned that I will discuss about 7 principles of software testing, right? Software testing principles. Okay. Yeah, there are something called 7 principles, but I'm not going for the exact 7 because my goal here is to give you some idea, right? Not all the details, very specific, very particular things or very perfect things. My goal is just to bring up those ideas. That is the goal of this video, right? Anyway, now what are the principles of software testing? I already told, right? I already told some of them, right? Let's see. Software testing cannot prove a software is bug-free or perfect. That also belongs to a principle, right? And another thing is parasite paradox. What does it mean? If you're doing the same testing again and again, you cannot find more bugs, right? You need to bring new test cases. Okay. Okay. So, and in the beginning, as I told, the purpose of software testing is to find bugs, right? That is the goal. It is not the goal to prove the software is perfect, right? And also, definitely, it is told before, you cannot say that you have done all sorts of testing, all possible testing for a software, right? You cannot say that you have done exhaustive testing or software testing cannot be exhaustive. There will always be some more to test, some different thing to test, some different ways to test, right? It cannot be exhaustive. However, we need to come to a stable point, right? So that we cannot okay. Another principle is we can start testing early, right? It can even start in the beginning of the when even you are just collecting the requirements, formalizing these requirements and features and all those things. You can have a testing mindset there. It is not just in the developer and testing there. You need to start very early, right? You need to start very early. That way it will be good. Okay, pesticide paradox that I told. Okay, another principle is testing is context dependent. Testing is context dependent, right? What does it mean? You don't test all the different software in the same way or in the same extent, right? You will not test website to the same extent you will test a pacemaker software, right? Because your website, if you don't test it well, things may not go that bad, right? Just a static website, right? Just information. But if it is a database related or dynamic, yes, it can, if you don't test it well, if it does go bad, then I believe that, yeah, probably the harm will be a little bit more. But still, sometimes web that can also be critical, right? If it's an e-commerce website, then if things don't work, then companies can lose millions of dollars or so. That's a different case. But in pacemaker, yes, if it doesn't test well, it doesn't work, people can die, right? The same goes with the aeroplane software or flighting software, right? So yeah, if you don't test it well, it's critical. But website, depending on what it is about, so yeah, I think you need to think in that way, right? Probably sometimes it's also about cost, budget on behalf of the company, whether how much they want to pay for it, depending on the how serious is it, right? And absence of error fallacy, I also told I cannot prove it, right? Okay, let's see what is the next thing that I wanted to discuss, right? So it's about software testing process, right? Software testing process. In general, I think let's not think about all the very specific steps and process, but I think in general, I just wanted to introduce the concept, right? So testing process, right? I believe I already used the term planning. Planning, software testing planning, right? You need to plan. You need to plan to what extent you want to test, to what extent or what are the different categories that you want to test, right? You need to plan at what point you want to test, right? So who will test? Who will test? Who will not test? Who reports to what? And what happens at the end of the testing? And all those things. You need to plan that entire thing, right? That is the test planning, right? And then some sort of designing, test designing, right? Test design, definitely you need to plan to design and then you carry out the design, right? You carry out the design. In planning, yes, you can plan all the different things of software testing. That is the planning, but all of the planning, it also needs to have some execution, right? Each execution or whatever you do, it will be part of the planning. It will be part of the planning. Planning will plan each of the different things that we'll do, right? And then you will need to do those things, right? Okay. So those steps are also part of the overall software testing, testing life cycle, testing, yeah, stages. We can say, right? To design test cases, right? Test cases. So that will be there. So I did all the different test cases. Then uh, and the last test will be reporting, right? Reporting, and closing, right? So those are some of the things, and definitely when to exit, when to stop, that will be one other. I think when to stop, that is one thing, and then eventually uh, closure. Sometimes closure, it does mean that you need to sign those documents off, right? Let's say some uh, management or higher management, they need to sign up. Okay, this software is being tested enough, and you can release it, right? So that is the closure activities. Okay, and the criteria to exit, you can say, okay, if you are done with these test cases, and if it is being tested by these people, or if it is being done some system testing, unit testing, integration testing, regression testing, this and that, then it is done, right? You need to define the criteria. When you reach to that criteria and you don't find any more bugs, then you need to follow the testing closure activities, right? Okay. So planning and control, right? Plan. So what are the test process? Planning and control is you will plan. Plan. What is control? Control is quality assurance. Another thing. Control means making sure. Control means making sure that the plan is being executed properly. Okay, things are going as per plan, right? Controlling things, right? That is the thing. I think even in project management, uh, mm, you will see these terms, yeah, planning and control and all those things, right? Analysis and design, like test cases and all those, and then definitely carry out the testing work, right? And reporting, evaluation criteria, test closure activities, all those things will be there. Okay, now psychology of testing, right? Okay, there are a couple of things, psychological aspects of software testing. I believe it also comes down to who does testing and how do they work together, communication. That is the aspect of, or this is the topic of psychology of testing. Okay, because I think it is important because in software development process, so there will be multiple people involved: project manager, business analyst, software developer, tester, end client, different stakeholders, right? And it's about bugs and showing error, pointing to errors, right? So it needs to be done in a soft way or compromising way or in a good manner so that it doesn't hurt and blame is not being put, and then things process smoothly and gracefully, and eventually the solution is there. And sometimes it happens that developers also have the mindset that he has tested it, it already works, he knows it works, but if someone tells that it doesn't work, sometimes it happens that it may be hard for them to accept it, right? And they may become defensive, or they may probably, okay, it worked for me. So I think there needs to be patience, good communications, and graceful, and yeah, keeping balance. Okay, the communication will be clear and courteous. When you are communicating defects, okay. Sometimes I think it's about the work, it's not about the people, right? Sometimes it's about the work. Okay. And what you found, right? You yourself, not the other person. Okay. I believe there is one another topic that is being discussed under the psychology of testing, the independence of testing. Independence of testing. When you're testing, how much independence you get, right? I think the lowest level of independence is the software developer itself when he or she does the testing. It's a, I think the lowest level who develops and who tests, right? But what is the highest level? Testing is done by someone completely outside of this development process, right? Probably he was not even involved in any aspects of the development and testing, just completely outsider, they're testing it. He has the most independence. Different organization, different company, outsourced testing team or certification team, they have the most independent, highest level of independence in terms of testing, because they are not directly linked to the code, right? Okay. What are the risks associated with software testing? Okay, let's say you are given to test something, right? I think if I put it this way, you are given to test some software. So what are the risks that you see in terms of testing? Risk is what can go wrong, or how things may not meet the expectation, right? The stock market risk, things can go wrong, you can lose money. Software testing risks, you may not be able to reach the deadline, right? You may not be able to finish everything by the deadline, right? Or sometimes, depending on the platform, things may not work. Probably you don't have the proper setup for your testing, so you may not be able to test everything, right? And sometimes you or your team may not have the skill, sometimes you may not have the budget, things can go over budget. Okay, and even sometimes management, they may not have a clear understanding how important is software and how to budget for it or not, how much time to allocate or not. Those kind of things can those are some risks, I would say. Scheduling risk, budget risk, operational risks, technical risks. Technical risks, as I told, platform related, not everything available. Programmatic risks. Okay, I think, as I see, programmatic risk. I think market development, running out of the fund, changing customer product strategy and priority. It's outside your control. Those type of thing. Okay. And what is code of ethics for software testers? If you're a software tester, what are your code of ethics? And definitely, if testing is your job, then you need to test it well, right? You need to test it well. And sincerely, reliably, honestly, right? Make sure that you're testing it well. You're giving your best effort to find out the issues. So that is your job. Definitely need to do it, right? And another thing is you are working for the company, right? You're working for the company, for the managers and all those, right? It is also your job to maintain the interest of the company, employer, or the managers, right? All those things. And above all, you need to work for the interest of public, right? For the interest of public and government, right? So if anything that goes against public interest, government or country interest, then you have certain responsibilities of communications depending on whom and how. So that probably another thing, right? Okay, and definitely being courteous to other testers, developers. That is one thing. Another thing is improving yourself, improving your professional skills, testing skills. Because you're in this profession, you need to do it. So you need to do it well. So you need to improve your skills. That's your responsibility, right? That is code of ethics. So because when you'll be doing this job, then by improving yourself, you can do it well, right? So okay. And definitely spread the knowledge, help others, community. Definitely, these are some code of ethics that you can maintain. Okay, I believe I want to stop here. It looks like I did not connect my laptop to electrical outlet. Battery is almost running out, so it's better that I stop. Bye. Okay, I think as for formality, I still need to say what actually discussed, right? So I actually tried to answer different fundamental concepts of software testing, basics of software testing. I defined them, right? I defined and I gave some answer some questions like what is software testing, why does software fail, why do we test software, what is the objective of software, who does testing, when to start software testing, when to stop testing, the 7 principles of software testing process, psychology of testing, and risk for software testing, code of ethics, all those things. And there are some other things like defining error, defect, bug, fault, failure, those are related to software testing. I did not go for it. Probably in future. These are actually supposed to be the previous topics of this video. So yeah. Anyway, bye.